Hi FlossTube Stitchers. This is video number 133 for Just Stitching Inc., which is a cross-stitch shop in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. My name is Shelly, and I called this video Slate, and more Slate because I got Slate fabric from Fabrics by Stephanie this week. I wasn't sure I was going to have enough to talk about today since this is Thanksgiving weekend, but then the fabric order came, and I have a few other things to talk about as well as showing my whip, and so I thought, wow, I have enough to do. Normally I will show our Thanksgiving celebration at home and how I decorate and maybe do a little video of the shop models. This year we did not have a traditional Thanksgiving, and I've already done some videos of the Thanksgiving models, and there's nothing new up there. So anyway, if you want to see that, look to my previous Novembers in previous years, and you'll see a video showing and identifying the models. Anyway, so Fabrics by Stephanie sent me 4 different fabrics. 3 other ones besides the slate were her substitutes for the Picture This Plus fabrics that were in high demand for the Year in the Woods series by Cottage Garden Samplings. And I know this is kind of late to be getting them. I did not rush to order them at the time. I did have people that were doing that series. They weren't necessarily looking for fabric right away, and I thought that we maybe had some nice other substitutes that people could use. But I did like these colors, and I had never had them before. So first I'm going to show you Friendship Green, which might have even been a new color for her. I'm not sure. As you know, I always try to match them up to some floss, and this time I found it easier to match it up to hand-dyed instead of DMC. So this first one is 14 count. And I'm just going to show you the 3 colors. You can read it better than me backwards. So they all, show different aspects of it. So I thought I would just give you 3 different colors to look for in your stash. That was the 14. And then I also got 28 and 36. I tried to get a little variety. All right. The next one is Driftwood. And unfortunately, I did not match any of these up to colors because they're all completely different. So I don't know what to say about that, except you know how color happens for these dyers. Sometimes they can put it all in the same batch, and because of the difference in the fabric material, sometimes the same dye can bring different colors out in each. So this is the 14, and it has maybe a little bit more of an olivey green tone to it than the other counts. This is 16. Actually, I should show you these 2 next to each other because they're so different. They're both nice, just for different things. And then I got it in 28, which is a little more on the brown side. And 32, I got a whole yard of 32. I just thought this would be really good for a lot of fall things. And then I got it in 36. Oops, I don't need to show you. I don't need to show you my inventory card. Alrighty, and then the next color I got is Hearthstone, and this is 16, and I have it matched up to Liberty from the Gentle Art. So I think this is really pretty. That was the lightest of the 3. And then this is 32 count. I think really good for winter things. And then I also got it in 36. Oops. This one seems a little brighter, but still very pretty. All right. Okay, and then the slate I have matched up to Classic Colorworks Blacksmith Blue or the Gentle Art Black Crow. This is the 14. And the slate I got, I think, in 5 counts, and pay attention to the counts. So there are a lot of designs that use this kind of tone. Kathy from Hands-On Design and Priscilla from Stitching with the Housewives for sure, but there are other companies as well. This is 16 count, so this is a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit more gray. And then in linen, I got 28. And 32. I got a whole yard of the 32. Oops, my pile might fall over. And then I decided to be really bold and get 40. I skipped the 36 and got 40. So I'm anxious to actually try something on this. I love stitching with one strand, and I haven't done much 40. Probably save this for a really sunny day during the day if I have time to stitch. Maybe stitch without my glasses on at the dining room table under a bright light and a lamp. We'll see about that. All right, so for the giveaway today, you're going to get 1/8 of a yard of your choice. So you have the 14, 16, 28, 32, or 40. And 1/8 of a yard is typically anywhere between 12 by 17 to 13 by 18. So you'll get that piece if you tell me a tip for working on dark fabric. Maybe we've heard it all, maybe we haven't. I'm still learning, I'm still investigating, I still look online for tips, I still jot things down, take screenshots, ask the stitcher if I can borrow their tip and give them credit for it on social media. So maybe you have a tip that we haven't heard about, so that takes care of that. Now, speaking of tips, I used to try to give a tip in each video, and sometimes I just can't think of anything new. Sometimes I don't have the right project or materials to demonstrate the tip with or to show you. But I usually do it, yeah, pretty much every Tuesday, Tuesday's tip on Facebook and Instagram. And I wanted to show you some of these. Well, the last two I wanted to talk about. So this I found on a website, and I put the 4 pictures into a pic collage so that you could see it all at once. And this is a tip for working with one strand of fiber. It could be cotton, it could be anything, but it works really well for satin or silk floss, and also for metallic threads. So what you basically do is take your one strand of floss, because you know, no matter what size needle you're using, I had this problem this week too, whether I was working with silk or cotton, I kept taking the thread right out of the needle, and I know it was my own fault. It either caught on a fingernail or caught on the edge of the fabric or something. So anyway, you basically take the one strand of thread, fold it over, maybe just 2 inches or so, a little bit longer maybe than the length of your needle, and put the loop end through the eye of the needle, and then you pull it through so that the loop gets to be the end of your needle, and you pull it to the other side, and then pull it all the way through. And it's not really a knot, but it's a temporary, I don't know, I guess it's a knot. It would be like an overhand knot or something. Anyway, it keeps it in the eye of your needle, and I can't tell you how helpful that is for working with one strand of silk. So I wanted to tell you about that. And Joanne Albanese said that she has always used that technique with blending filament. And I'm like, yes, of course, I remember that from way back when. It was a tip from Hronec on using their blending filament because they knew it wasn't the easiest thread to work with. And if you're putting blending filament with another strand of floss, you just knot the blending filament into the eye and leave the other floss just hanging loose in there, but it keeps the blending filament from twisting around too much or from coming out of the eye altogether. So I had heard the tip long time ago and had kind of forgotten it. And so I was reinvigorated by seeing the tip recently and thought I would share it again. And enough people said it was a good idea and that they had never heard that before. So I just wanted to read a comment from Carol Shockey. It was so sweet. She said, "It's all these little tips shared that help us to be better stitchers, quilters, etc. I didn't know this, and I'm grateful to you for sharing." And my feeling about that is I'm still learning too, even after having the shop for this long. I always want to share things I learn that will help you become better stitchers. And if you don't care about entering competitions, you don't care if your back is neat or whatever, then the secondary reason for sharing these tips is just so needlework is more enjoyable for you. So it could be to improve your stitching, or it could be just to make it more fun and not have all the frustrations that crop up. So I just wanted to thank Carol for saying that. I appreciated it because I felt like my tips are well received and not just a waste of time or a throwaway Facebook post. Then the other tip goes along with my whip for this week. I can show this to you because it's a free chart called Merry Christmas from December 2020 from Teresa Kogut, and it is on her website. So I just wanted to show you, I got more of this highlighter tape in recently because a customer asked about it. A local stitcher, Donna Zatazalo, had said, "Hey, do you have any of that highlighter tape?" And I'm like, gosh, I feel like I've been out of that for a while. And sometimes I think that these accessories have not worn out their welcome, but everybody already has it, and there's a lot on these things, and maybe you only need one in your lifetime of stitching because you can reuse it. But I just thought, you know what, I need to show this again and get this back in stock because it is a good accessory to have on hand. It comes in 6 colors. So this is the blue. These are in random setup here: pink, purple, orange, green. Nope, that was the yellow. You know what? Let me show you the green and the yellow together because they both look like green to me, but that's the yellow. So the 6 colors are all in stock right now. And I just had shared the tip about using it on your charts so that you could keep your place. Sometimes the charts are complicated, or in this case, I just for demonstration purposes, I wasn't actually using it at the time, but I put it underneath that row because I wanted to make sure that I really was doing the letter the proper height and not find out later and have to take it out. But the comments that came through were really helpful. Maureen Nestel said for her PDF patterns, she uses this highlighter tape right on her tablet screen. And I would never have thought to do that, but it is, removable. Then D. Ritako, well, in my post, I had put to be careful what kind of paper, like maybe test it first before you use it on a chart, because there are many different types of charts and paper that are used. Some are printed, some are Xeroxed, and there's a difference there. Some are more heavily saturated with ink and some are lighter. And then there's the, the quality of the paper. And so I think on the packaging for the transparent tape, it says to test on paper first. So Dee Rataco said she agrees with testing it first because she has a chart where the tape is starting to lift off the print, and then you wouldn't be able to see the symbols anymore, or stitch it again if you wanted to. And then Janice Van Dyke said she uses the Post-it note flags to mark her spot. And I've also used Post-it notes, but I get frustrated because Post-it notes used to really stick, like maybe 20 years ago, but then everything became archival, and you had to be able to take it off easily so it didn't damage things, the whole scrapbook era. And now nothing sticks. You can put a Post-it note on and the next day it's on the floor. So, but you could put the Post-it note on the chart and then put the chart in a plastic sleeve, so that would kind of keep it steady under there. And the plastic sleeve was a tip from Ara Perez, and she puts the tape on top. So that's what I did. I put the tape on top, but you could also put the Post-it note on that and then put it in a sleeve, especially if you use a bigger Post-it note and you have a certain area to fill in. It's, you don't want to pull this out every couple stitches and reposition the Post-it note, but you could also put the Post-it note on the outside. Remember when they had clear Post-it notes? I think we found those at Walmart like 15 years ago, and then all of a sudden they were gone. They only came in orange, and they were very helpful because you could actually read the symbols either above the edge of the line or underneath. So anyway, and then Evelyn Stark said that a lot of stitchers do this, she makes a copy of the chart and then she pencils in the rows as she's finished them, and she never loses her place. And she said it probably takes the same amount of time as it would take to keep removing the tape and putting it back on again. That's valid. A lot of people do that. Of course, that's a tip that's been around for a long time. I guess my feeling about that is that I know a lot of stitchers who do not have home printers. So they're not going to make a copy of their chart at home easily. They're going to be using their original and not want to mess it up. So anyway, but these tips are all very helpful, aren't they? Okay, so let me show you my progress on this Merry Christmas. This is a WIP that, well, it wasn't really a WIP because I only worked on it one day in February of 2021 as part of my freebie February. And I only had the M done. And so this is all I've worked on for the past couple nights, and that's how much I've gotten done. Now, something is making me crazy, and I really hope that you don't notice it. But I had only stitched the M, and when I do Freebie February or even Mania where I start new projects, I don't necessarily kit the entire project. So in this case, I only had the Onyx Weeks Die Works. I didn't kit the whole thing. Well, when I found this in my pile, it did not have the thread with it. So obviously I borrowed the thread for another project. So I thought, no problem, I'll just go find it. So I found a skein of onyx, and I stitched, I think I stitched the T next because it was really close to the M, and that was the easiest thing without counting too far. And I felt like it didn't match. It looked lighter, and I thought, shoot, I better not stitch much more until I find the real onyx. I never thought that Weeks Dye Works had a lot of issues with dye lots, but I've been stitching with their threads for 20 some years, and so it's very possible that something was an old skein. So I kept looking, and I found another skein, and so I did another letter, possibly the S. I did the S underneath the M, and I felt the same thing. Now, I don't see it in the camera right now, so maybe you're thinking, I'm nuts. But then I stitched the S, and I thought, is it just because the M is such a big letter? I couldn't figure it out. So then I thought, all right, I'm just going to keep looking for anything that I might have been working on after February of 2021. Wait, was that this year or last year? No, I didn't do Freebie February this year because of my elbow. So it was 2021. So I looked on I looked in my stitch bags to see if I could find other projects. And I found another skein, and this looked darker when I put it next to the other two skeins. So then I stitched the ERRY and the M. Well, what I did on the bottom row is so that it wasn't as noticeable, I did like every other letter from the different skeins so that I would kind of mix it up a little bit, because what I found didn't look like it was going to be enough to stitch the whole thing. Does this sound familiar to you? Then I went back to just to check. Well, no, I did this first. I went back and looked at my original post because I thought, what if this was mascara or Black Crow or something? Maybe this wasn't even onyx. Maybe I wasn't using what the designer called for. So I went back and looked at my original post. Sure enough, it said I was going to use the called for colors. So I don't know. Then I noticed in the post that I said, I hope I'm satisfied with only one strand. So I don't know. This is 32 count, but it looks like it's not, filling it up as much as I would like. So before I stitch the little designs, the tree, the snowman, the Santa, the reindeer, before I stitch those, I think I'm actually going to go over one of these letters with one more top cross and see if I like the way it's filled in. I know it'll be more stitching, but if I'm not satisfied with the result and then I never finish it and it just ends up in a drawer, then that's beside the point. So I'd rather do a little more work and be fully satisfied with the final effort. Okay, I talked too long about that. All right, then my whip from last week, I finished the second night. Alrighty, and this was from the Thread Milk Design Turkey Tavern chart, and I did Be Ye Grateful. So this was the one that I decided on the copper metallic, and then I thought twice about it because I thought maybe you shouldn't do a prim design on a sparkly fabric, but whatever. But I like it, so I'm going to go through my fall-looking fabrics and see what I find to use to finish that. So I'm happy with that. And then my vintage stitch was a gift years ago from Sue Staley of Sekas & Company. She was one of our local stitchers, designers. She was in a stitch group. She was close enough to come and do classes and things like that. And so this is called We Interrupt This Marriage for the Stitching Season. And she had a whole series of 50-cent charts that had the saying on it for all the sports. And I just thought it was really cute that she did one for stitching. And of course she had to do it in blue and red because she knew I liked patriotic. She didn't necessarily make it look patriotic. She just knew this would look good in my house. And wow, it's stuffed really nicely, really, really nice and firm. So I thought I'd show you that. And then, let's see, a little bit of Walmart. It's going to be for finishing. You know how they show little tiny ornaments or buttons in the middle of a bow? So that was my thought in buying these. And I've purchased these before. So this is the 2022 Walmart offering for Christmas. So it's $2.68, and this one you get 6 little ones. I probably should have bought more, but I'm not getting much finishing done, so I'll probably be lucky just to use these 6. But I was watching the latest Java Girl Stitches, and she used, I forget which one, but she used one of them on one of her recent Christmas finishes, and I'm like, yes, one of these days, when I up my finishing game, I'm going to be one of the cool kids too. So I love those. It's just my style. Then these are 4 of the same thing, and they're like black and cream. So I really like that because actually I could even just put these on my tree in my entryway because I have a black and white display there. So I could actually just use those there. But if I want to use one later in the center of a bow, I thought that would be cute. And then, speaking of chalkboards, aren't those cute? So again, I could use this on the tree in the meantime, and then find a way to use it in a finish. So that was my Walmart haul. And then I had asked you last week to give your favorite part of the Thanksgiving meal as your answer to get in the drawing to win these 5 Thanksgiving-ish colors from Classic Colorworks. And the winner that I chose, wait, I have to turn my note upside down because I knew I wasn't going to remember her name. I hope I'm going to say this right, but Nancy Legletter 9061 was what the random number generator chose. And so she's going to get these flosses. And I started to do a little tally of what people said for what their favorite part of the meal was. And you said everything, so there was nothing to tally. Like, everybody said everything. It was very interesting. I loved reading them. I got hungry reading them. Our Thanksgiving was a little different this year. I didn't host, I didn't decorate, which is fine because I'm starting on Christmas early, the earliest I've ever done it, so that's fine. We reserved a room at Danbury Senior Living where my parents are. We reserved a private dining room, and we ordered Thanksgiving dinner from Columbia Hills Country Club where my brother golfs, and it was perfectly fine. It wasn't the best meal we've ever had. It certainly wasn't the worst, but it was easy, and all we had to do was heat it up, and it worked well to do it at another location. It was fine. It didn't have all the fancy side dishes that we usually make, but it was okay. So I'll put a couple pictures at the end for that. Alrighty, I think I've used up my time. I think I said everything I wanted to say. If not, I'll go back and edit something in if I forgot something. Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.